T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. Send it, Mike. So here we are. We don't have Jin this week. We're gonna go. I got four. I think I got four awesome guests today. We're gonna sit around. We're just gonna shoot the shit. We're gonna chit chat and have a good time. As for the sponsors, Blake's Exotic Food. You could hit up Blake for any of your quail needs. Good guy, good stuff. Hit him up. Also, join US ARC. They tirelessly fight for our rights to keep these animals that we love and we nurture. So if you're not a member, become a member. Go join up today. Become a member of US ARC. Click on their webpage and follow the links and get on this fight. Everyone needs to fight together. All right. So, man, that was a little difficult for a guy like me. But so what I'm going to do now, look, we're looking at Bryan's butt. Nice. We're going to bring everybody on and we're just going to chat monitors. This is the All Monitor podcast where we talk about monitors and Monitor Fest and animals and caging. And here I have one of my longest buddies, Bryan Waterloo. He needs no introduction, but here he is, the man himself, Bryan Waterloo.
Hey, Mike.
How you doing, brother?
Having me on again, and that was a last-minute deal. Figured.
Hey, you know,
have the Monitor Fest flag up.
So there was a lot of last-minute deals without Jin, my partner Jin Squatch. We had a few technical difficulties, but of course MJ got them ironed out, and here we are. So today, the title of the podcast is recapping Monitor Fest. And while I have everyone here who's always in attendance at Monitor Fest, just quickly, I want to run through each of yours. Give your opinions on you know, why you like Monitor Fest, what's cool about it. I don't care if it's the weather, you know, the people, you know, whatever. And again, one more thing I need to say is Adeline Robinson Billmeyer, she donates her artwork to Monitor Fest. And as you know, look at that thing. As you know, Adeline is the best in the reptile business for sure, without a doubt. So we appreciate you doing that for Bryan and for Monitor Fest. So let's start with, let's go with Bryan first, since that's his baby. Monitor Fest. When did you come up with it, and why did it take you so long to make it happen? Because now that it is happening, your vision is full blown, and it's an awesome thing. I love it. I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, me too. Basically, I stole it from Owen and Eric because they kept doing the Carpet Fest, and they've been at it for I don't know how many years now. I think they're going on like 13, 14 years, maybe longer. I'm not really sure, but I always thought, I'm like, you know, shit, why don't we just do this for monitors? And with your pushing and me and you talking about it and a couple other guys, I finally, I don't know, got a hair up my ass. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this year, and we'll see how it turns out, and started little by little getting the word out to different people. And that first year was huge. It's like 70 people here, and it turned out great. And, you know, went for the next year, and I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go. And then, you know, it was another great turnout. And then this last year was just like the first year. It was also 70 people were here. It was huge.
Awesome. So 3 years in, and nobody died. We're doing great. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you, Bryan.
Yep.
How about you, Bryan, while you're driving your car? Bryan, everybody, let me introduce Bryan Duraca. He's another longtime reptile keeper. We ain't young kids. We've been doing this stuff a long time. Bryan, he's going to be a special guest on All Monitor podcast, and he had just recently hatched out the world's first Varanus togiensis. He has many more eggs in the incubator. Very proud of that accomplishment. So, what do you like about Monitor Fest, my man?
Mike.
Yeah.
You just said togiensis. He hatched out.
Did I say togiensis?
Yes.
Doriensis. I'm sorry. I got my anuses mixed up here. So go ahead, Bryan. Talk to us
I'm
about
sorry. I didn't hear that last part, Mike. Yeah.
Your world's first Varanus Doriensis. Okay, there I got my anus right. Shoot.
Well, I don't know. They're awesome. Took me a long time to finally make it happen. Pretty amazing thing to finally see come to fruition. And I have a few more clutches incubating, so hopefully it'll keep happening for a while.
Very, very good. And now you're every year at Monitor Fest. You're every year at Monitor Fest. Give us a little why you like it so much.
Well, I don't know. I look forward to it every year. It's kind of kicks off the summer. It's a great time. Yes, the weather is always nice, but it's nice to actually see all the people that are like-minded and people that I've never met before. Maybe just saw their name on a social media post or somebody who's liking one of my posts. I actually get to meet those people. So yeah, it's just a great time to talk to people that do the same thing you do.
Absolutely. So, it's a great time. And again, all credit goes to Bryan Waterloo.
Well, you deserve a lot of that credit too, because you promote the hell out of it. I know sometimes I feel, Bryan Waterloo, that when I tell you these ideas and I come with you with things that I'm going to bring to the table, I know sometimes I think you're probably like, man, shut the fuck up. But I appreciate you dealing with me. It's not dealing with you. I appreciate the ideas and different thoughts. I mean, like this year was the first year that we ever did like little interviews on the deck there, which I really enjoyed, and I think we should keep that going. And that was
I do too.
Your brainchild, so
I do too. And with that said, anybody interested in seeing the interviews from Monitor Fest 3 2024, you can go look on my YouTube, and it's probably, I think it's about an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. But I have everybody here interviewed, so go watch it, and you'll see what a nice, the weather, the time, the people, the food, everything is so good. So moving right along here, let's go to Adeline. I'm sorry, I know it's ladies first, but since you're like the thing from Sesame Street, one of these things just don't belong. You got us 3 Mama Lukes, 4 Mama Lukes. You're going last. So go ahead, Brad. Shoot.
Yeah, so Brad Gerke with Brad's Bioactive Builds. Bryan, thanks for putting on Monitor Fest every year. Mike, I know you play a big part in that as well. Bryan Duraca, congratulations on the Doriensis. That's exciting stuff. Same with you, Mike, and the togiensis. So primarily what I do is I build enclosures for varanids and other reptiles and amphibians. But kind of focusing on Monitor Fest, I mean, just the camaraderie, meeting people that you talk to online. What it is, the way that I see it, it's pretty much like a central hub for monitor enthusiasts to be able to get together, not only talk varanids and reptiles, but also just life and where they're coming from and the ways that, and how they got to reptiles. The knowledge that's shared is just amazing. I mean, every year within those, 12, 14 hours, almost, it feels like we're there. I mean, we left at about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a knowledge overload. you know, to the point where you walk away feeling inspired. You feel that you accomplished something, whether it was showing something to somebody else that you're doing or learning something from the people that have been in this game for decades. So, I mean, it's truly one of the coolest things that I get to experience every year. And like Daraka said, it really kicks off the summer, and it fuels you just to continue pushing forward with these amazing animals.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to say in conjunction to what you have just said is we've all been doing this for a very, very long time. If you ever think you know everything, you're a fool. I learn something new every day with these animals. And at Monitor Fest, I learn from all the old dogs, and actually a few of the new up-and-comers, they'll say something, and it really, you know, it makes you scratch your head and you think. So there's always new ideas that could be pondered and then implemented into our work. So, yes, Monitor Fest is a great place for learning and gaining knowledge, sharing knowledge. And like you said, the camaraderie, you just can't beat it. So with that, thank you, Brad. Let's go to the beautiful and very talented Adeline Robinson Billmeyer. You're up, girl.
Hey. I have been hoping and wanting a monitor-specific get-together for so many years. Like, Bryan, you have no idea how elated I was when you first brought that up to me at Tinley, that this was finally going to happen. Because I, you know, for years I was like, oh man, it'd be so awesome if we had a monitor-specific show. I've been keeping monitors forever, a good variety of species, and you know, with breeding them, I just wanted somewhere to be able to network about monitors specifically. And this is that. It is so awesome because we actually get the opportunity to chat, you know, not just shoot the shit, but throw ideas out there, new concepts that haven't been tried before, and just talk about our love from the animals together that I don't quite get to do at the shows. Shows are a huge blur for me. You know, Tinley has been our home show forever, and it's so much fun, but I don't get to talk to anybody. And so it's so nice to actually be able to sit down and have conversations and explore these conversations more in depth. But yeah, it's always an amazing time. It's super beautiful. Your facility is amazing. And it's just so fun to get together with everybody.
Yeah, and that was another, I guess, aspect of it where, you know, I started thinking about it more. I'm like, you know, like you said with Tinley. I'll be at Tinley all weekend, and I maybe talk to Mike for 5 minutes.
Such a blur.
He's got people coming up, you know, and he's like, hey, I got to talk to this guy. You're always, you know, got people around your table. Brad, I think you had a table last year, or you had a bunch of people around you, or, you know.
Just running around.
You just start running around, you start talking to people, and then you have a conversation, and then you see somebody else, like, hey, I'll be right back. And then, yeah, before you know it, it's Sunday, 3 o'clock, and it's like, all right, I'm out. So, yeah, that was, again, another point of it was like, well, if everyone's here, there's no sales, there's no, you know, hey, I got to go over here and deal with this. And I mean, it's just to hang out and just catch up and, you know.
And with everybody here, we're all here from the Chicago area. And, man, something just hit me like a ton of bricks. Man, like Adeline said, this is like a central hub, and Brad had mentioned a central hub, but the Chicagoland area, man, when you look at the people on the screen right now, this is really a power in the monitor world. This is really a nice hub of a lot of amazing keepers and breeders and artists, you know, and when I say artists, I include Adeline because she's the best. And then Brad, you know, he's come over here and picked my brain about enclosure builds and design and stuff, and his abilities and his artistic eye it's just amazing. And you know, I love seeing all of this stuff progress to that point, because me and Bryan, we've always been from the, you know, we like naturalistic enclosures, and just to see somebody coming up like Brad who takes it to a whole nother level, I mean, God bless. That's what it's all about, sharing our knowledge and perpetually building this up. So good on all of you guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking on that, Mike. I wouldn't be able to build the enclosures I build today without talking with you and Waterloo. I mean, you guys have given me so much inspiration to be able to incorporate ideas. And I remember talking to Waterloo last year at Monitor Fest and just kind of looking at some of his cages after visiting your place, Mike. And just, I mean, the inspiration I get from that is purely amazing. Just to be able to help try and push the envelope a little bit and, you know, come up with some of the like out of the box ideas and stuff. So kudos to you guys for leading the way.
And funny that you say that is, so me and Waterloo and Bryan, Daraka there, we've been doing this for so long, and up and coming, we always really liked the European style of keeping animals, which was never, and again, I don't even think we're there yet because they all use a lot of live plants and stuff. I'm a plant killer, so I always go with silks and fakes. So, man, it's really refreshing to see these animals, monitor lizards that are so intelligent, really getting the husbandry they deserve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that's got to be checked out, you got to go to Bryan's one of these days and go down in the basement and check out all the stuff he's got down there, because he's got plants everywhere and all these water features and all that. Bryan, you know, maybe you could expel or explain a little bit more on that.
I think Bryan, you host like Shalonian Fest or Turtle Fest, something in your house.
Yeah,
Bryan,
I've been putting on the Turtle Park house. I do a lot. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting out just a little bit.
Can you hear me all right, Mike?
yeah.
All right.
Now.
Hopefully this is kind of smooth. I know we're driving through some rough area here. Yeah, I put this party on every year. My, main interest has always been turtles and tortoises. And I got a lot of friends in this area that did this stuff, and decided I would try to put them all together. Same concept as Bryan's. It's a little more, it's by invite only, because all my turtles and tortoises are outside, and I just don't want anybody that I don't really knowing where everything is, because I can't just lock it away. So
Yeah, that's perfectly understandable. You're kind of breaking up now, but we got the gist of what you got going on. And my suggestion for you is a couple of Cane Corsos. Let anybody come over. That's what I say. So now, Adeline, let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. You and Chris travel so much. I'm quite jealous of all the traveling you do. You're younger than me, and that's great. But yeah, the traveling that you do is it's amazing. And then of course you and Nanners, that's her husband's name, is my pet name for him is Nanners because it's a funny joke. But at any rate, yeah. So Nanners and Adeline built like a travel van where they sleep and eat, and it's so freaking cool. And then they bring everything they got with them, and all their art to sell at the shows. So tell us a little bit about how that is being such a traveler like that in keeping animals.
It was very difficult at first because I had a really big collection, because I've been keeping animals my entire life, and had several breeding groups of different things and all kinds of projects going. So as we started picking up more on the artwork, I slowly began to downsize the collection to focus more specifically on what I really enjoyed and wanted to continue to keep. And so now that's the 3 monitors and then the guards. And so now that it's a bit more manageable, it's a lot easier for us to go out of town, where I can set up, big Cappadubia roaches for them while I'm gone. They're getting misted, they're getting taken care of, they're getting fed and watered. Chris's brother, he helps a lot with the care of the animals. And then we do have a couple friends too that work at Birds and Beast Pet Shop.
Absolutely.
Make sure that everything's good.
What you had 3 monitors, you said?
Yeah.
what blues, greens, what kind?
So I've got a pair of blues and I've got a pair of black trees, and I used to have trios of cordensis, and then I did have prasinus as well, but I sold the cordensis and prasinus. And then before that, I was breeding Ackies, and I had Kingorum and water monitors and just like a bunch of random stuff. But yeah, I've got the 2 pairs of trees now, and I got them set up in their new caging, which has been awesome. And it's just so much easier when we leave town to just be able to set them up with everything they need, and as long as they're getting misted, they're good and they're ready to roll.
And it is important to note that leaving monitor lizards for 4 or 5 days, it's not an easy feat. So I know Adeline's support system and the people that help her out while she's out of town, all great people, and that's what this community is about, is really people helping each other out. And we all cheer for each other. I really don't. I mean, when I was younger, trust me, I was a different person. But at my age now, I cheer for everybody, man. I want to see everybody win. There's no jealousy. I just love to see people win in this community, especially with my beloved monitor lizards. So, again, Adeline touched on how important it is to have a support system for traveling. And, of course, she is the art lady. No matter where you go, that's what you do. That's how you make a living. And and you still love your animals. That's why you have a support system and travel around. So kudos to you and your team.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very grateful to have an amazing, incredible support system, and not just for care, but for knowledge and information as well. Talking to Cody over the weekend and just getting tips and tricks from everybody of, hey, have you tried this? This might be able to help you out. Check out some of these apps where you can keep an eye on everything when you're out of town. Like it's amazing how far the tech has come and how much access we have to things that can make our lives easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a little bit like Bryan Duraka. I don't really know. I think he's a little more tech savvy, but me and Waterloo, man, we're like freaking dinosaurs. So it's nice to have all those apps and stuff, but you know what? I worked so many years of my life to be able to open up a cage, stick my face in there and say, that's 80% humidity, or that's 90 degrees. You know what I mean? So while I appreciate those apps and how they can help you in traveling and taking care of things, man, we kind of did that with, and I don't know if I'm bragging about that or if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but I sure am glad that I could put my arm in an enclosure and say, hey, that's, 82 degrees or 75 degrees. I need to jack something up. But yeah, the new technology and everything really can launch everything over the top. And, sometimes it's a great help. I'm fortunate enough to be retired and I can be here with my animals. So, if I wasn't, I'd be looking at those apps and trying to learn as much as I could. But yeah, that's great advice. Waterloo,
Yes,
my man, you were yelling at me earlier today. No, I'm only joking. You don't yell at me, man. But I love your attitude. You're very, very. You're like a cactus plant, man. You just need a little bit of water, and you're prickly, and I love you, bro. So you wanted to talk a little bit about caging. So shoot.
Yeah, I basically went down a rabbit hole of watching these Kennan videos where he's at by Tom Wolf in Florida, and he's at this guy's place in Florida and this guy's place in Texas and all that. And I'm getting to the point to where, I want to get to 20 by 30 by 40 foot cages for one animal. Maybe incorporate live plants, water features, all that. And I look at my cages, which again I was talking about earlier. I'm ready to freaking take them all and throw them in a dumpster.
You're crazy, bro.
I know,
you're crazy.
But I just want to make them this open air cage concept that I'm kicking around. It's basically, it's kind of like your typical. I'm sure every one of us has been to Brookfield or Lincoln Park or both. Mm-hmm. And you get into the swamp exhibits and all that, where it's kind of a, it's one big wall. And then there's a water feature, and then the exhibits kind of, in the back, and there's all the rock work and the logs and all. I want to start doing that to where
Right.
it's just all open air. And,
Yep.
I'm sure you can tell right now how freaking hot it is in here. So I'm not worried about humidity. I'm not worried about heat. My garage, my barn is insulated. So, because I heard, a couple different people are like, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? And it's like, well, for the most part, I'm really not too concerned about it because it's pretty stable in here temperature wise.
Yeah, I think the tweaks that people are trying to advise you on are tweaks that we've taken into consideration, many, many years ago. And however, I'm down here in the basement, and if my cages didn't have glass fronts and they were wire fronts, they would run exactly to how they are now. So I do understand people's concerns, but people got to also give some credit where credit is due for the old dogs like you and me. I mean, we kind of have taken all this stuff into consideration for many years. Now it's just time to up the game. And you were talking about the Brookfield Zoo and the swamp. I love it. But, man, one of my favorite, and I'm sure Adeline and Brad will understand this too, one of my favorite displays at the Brookfield Zoo was in the desert birdhouse, where you would walk in there and the road runners and the tortoises, and oh my God, big, huge, open air from floor to ceiling, and it's just so freaking beautiful and cool. And road runners, how can you beat that? Beep, beep.
Yeah, I remember that exact display. It was huge too.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
You remember that, Adeline?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. My uncle
I-
used to at Waterloo growing up, so I used to go there, and it's like my favorite childhood memories were going and checking out the zoo and the enclosure.
It's been a long time since I've been there, but last time I was there, it was still that display was still in that same building.
It sounds like we're due for a field trip.
Yeah, we should do that. That's a great idea.
That'd be fun.
Maybe not. I went there recently,
Oh,
long ago,
How was it?
and that birdhouse is gone now. It's
no.
some sea exhibit. The old reptile house is now merged with some of the old reptile house gone completely. It's an admin building. But across from it, where that lagoon was at, that used to be another old birdhouse, and that's a birdhouse with the reptiles mixed in. They got rid of Baboon Island. That's gone. No more baboons.
Oh, man.
I can't believe that. And then, what else? I know that they're working on Tropic World again. They've been putting money into it. I don't know if it's supposed to open, the summer or maybe midsummer. Stucknut would know. He's always there. But basically, it's even with Lincoln Park. A lot of their reptile stuff is just completely shrunk down to nothing. And it's a shame because, these were two Marlin Perkins, institutes that he
Absolutely
had dialed in. I mean,
Yep.
the old reptile house in Lincoln Park, when Ray Pauly was running the show, man, they had the basement, and this was back like in the early 90s. They had a giant Orinoco crocodile, and the enclosure was all glass from like the floor up, and you could just, see that big skull of his just sitting up against there. And then go upstairs, they had them big giant, cages probably built like in the 30s or 40s.
Wow.
And, they had nice big water features and ponds. I mean, in Brookfield too, that old Brookfield reptile house with the swamp on one end and the alligators on the other. I mean,
Yep.
yeah. And then
I remember
ones. I mean,
one of my ultimate things like kind of sticks in my head, and it's kind of a weird thing, but it's like burned in my head, is at the Lincoln Park Zoo, they, for the longest time, and I'm sure this is gone now, but where Bushman was a world famous silverback gorilla, Bushman's very simple, kind of brutal, if you ask me, for a gorilla like that. But there was this big giant, a big giant for me, but for a gorilla, it's just a normal chair. Big steel chair that he would sit in and look at Lake Michigan. And when they destructed that, you could actually go in there and sit in his chair And I sat in that chair and I looked out at Lake Michigan, and I thought to myself, my God, man, that was probably the only piece or any kind of semblance of normal that poor, and I don't mean poor animal. You know what? You understand what we're animal lovers. So for him to be sitting on a steel chair and, you know, that type of enrichment, looking out at something that he can't be part of. And I sat in that chair and I was a little depressed, man. I'm not going to lie to you about that. I was a little depressed for that animal, you know, but still cool that I understand what they were trying to do with it. But for guys like us, people like us, Adeline, we see things in a little different light than most people see because we are animal lovers, you know. With all this stuff said, so now that I live up in Schriever, Wisconsin, we've been going to Milwaukee Zoo. Man, I got to say, their reptile house is fantastic.
Never been there.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice.
They have Bolins there, don't they?
Oh, geez. Yeah, they have Bolins. They have a lot of monitor lizards, some rattlesnakes, some mixed species displays too, which is pretty cool. And they're all pretty naturalistic.
Yeah. You know, speaking of Adeline, because you seem to travel probably the most out of everyone. Brad, I don't know how much you travel either, but you're always going to all these different shows, and, you know, you're going to Texas, and you're going to here. Do you make it to any of these zoos while you're out in these other states, or?
Hell yeah, I do. One of our trips, we hit up 3 zoos in 3 days on the way home, and that was pretty cool. So we hit up the Oklahoma City Zoo. I'm trying to remember like all of them back to back because there's been so many zoos that we've gone to. It's a little hard to keep track of all of them. But yeah, we did the Oklahoma City Zoo. I think it was like the Nashville Zoo. And Chris, do you remember the third zoo? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Wait a minute. Nanners is sitting there? Tell him to slide in. Tell him to slide in.
But yeah, we hit up a lot of zoos, and you know, it's amazing how enrichment has become so important and talked about more and more nowadays. There's like zookeeping enrichment groups that I'm a part of online where they create really cool puzzles and teasers and different things that you can do with these animals to keep them happy and to keep them.
What's up, bitches?
Hey, how you doing, Chris? What's going on, Nanners?
Morning.
Oh, just nannering, you know.
Yeah, hey, just so you know, you kissed me on the side of my head at Monitor Fest. I still haven't washed that area.
I was gonna say it didn't get infected, did it?
Oh no. I was gonna get your lips tattooed, but I'm afraid to do the dome. You know.
That would have been kind of cool.
Out of those, I guess out of those dams, keep getting touched. Sorry. Any particular like enclosures or like you know, big exhibit really stood out, or?
Have you guys been to the Baltimore Aquarium, the National Aquarium by chance? That place is insane. Kind of similar where they've got these big walkthrough exhibits where you've got made cliffs with birds flying overhead. You've got, you know, trees, you've got all kinds of plants, a little bit of everything. And the animals are just out and about enjoying the space, almost like a conservatory style. Nice. And then with these waterfalls, you've got rivers going through it and big aquariums where they've got, you know, an Australian lungfish, and they've got some really cool species. They do live feedings and shows. I think it was the Florida Aquarium had something similar where they had really big open areas that you can walk through. And the spoonbills were coming up to us, like wanting to interact with us.
Very good.
You're thinking of the Nashville Zoo?
Was that Nashville?
Yeah, where some of the aviaries were walk through.
You walk through and all the birds would just come to you and they're like,
they'd come check you out. Yeah, and that's love. You know, when you're talking about doing a walk-through enclosure, you know, being able to give these they'll use every bit of space that they can.
Yeah.
And, you know, they deserve that, and they should be able to have that. And it's amazing, you know, not only how much they'll use it and enjoy it, but then in turn, they feel more comfort because they know they can go hide somewhere if they need to. And that makes them more curious. And because they feel safe, they want to check stuff out because they know they got somewhere they can hide.
So, Adeline, you had just made mention about this Baltimore Zoo thing you were talking about with these walkthrough habitats. and it almost sounded to me, and maybe I'm wrong, like you said, the lungfish, the birds, are these separated but still able to view as one exhibit, or are they all displayed freely together?
It's been a while since I've been over there, but if I recall, you walk through, and sure, there's like different areas, but it's all part of one experience walking in where the animals can move back and forth. So, I mean, granted, the fish aren't going to be able to leave the water.
Right.
For the most part, like the birds are all flying around. I believe they had some smaller monkeys hopping around as well, if I recall correctly. But yeah, it was fairly open.
Right. Like so with that being said, so at the Milwaukee Zoo, one of the bird things is hornbills. So
That's
another big walk-in thing, and it looks like everything is together, but you know, nowadays with the technology and stuff, they have these really thin nets or mesh or something that's painted black that while you're walking through there, it's open to you, and it looks like it's open for everybody, but these black nets that almost disappear because they're black, and you know, much larger netting, that it looks like everybody's together. But so yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, Dallas World Aquarium does that, where they've got a bunch of different areas that, like you said, they look open. It's one thing as you walk through it, but the animals are all kept separate and contained.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool.
Brad, you were gonna say you travel a lot too?
Yeah, just more like having fun, going out of the country to like Dominican Republic, Bahamas, Cayman Islands, just doing all that stuff, which is cool because I mean, a lot of times when you're out there, you see some of these animals out in the wild, which is amazing, and then you can receive a lot of inspiration from that with building out like naturalistic enclosures. So that's one thing I'm always looking for, aside from going to the beach and having fun on cruise ships and doing that, really taking in the scenery to kind of, I guess, advance my thinking, just the way a tree would look sometimes differently than here in the Chicagoland area. Yeah, you see pictures on the internet, which is great, but actually being able to see it, breathe it, touch it, I mean, it just kind of explodes your mind with the design.
Yeah. It's funny, I keep seeing your blue tree.
Yeah, yeah. He's foraging. He knows it's lunchtime. So what he does is when he comes down, he'll scavenge through all the leaf litter to find some crickets and stuff. So it's kind of fun to watch him do that. But yeah, he's hungry. He's ready to eat.
Nice. Yeah, I fed everyone yesterday, but I still Henry at Cyclura is always scratching. This is again another reason why these cage enclosure ideas I have is to avoid doing that anymore. I just made the mistake of always having the glass just, like that much off the ground, like the substrate. And then them just all day looking at it like, how come I can't get through here? So that's another thing that, I want to change.
Well, I have one suggestion for that, brother. If you take like a close-up picture of this, put it on the glass by the bottom, they'll never go near it. Oh, fuck. I'm an idiot.
Bryan,
sorry, guys.
Bryan, with your ideas, though, and building those huge enclosures inside that pole barn, I mean, that just sounds amazing. One, you got the space to be able to do it. Two, I mean, the enclosures you have now that, dude, don't tear them down. Put them somewhere else, man, please. But I feel that whatever you build inside of that barn, man, it's just going to be amazing. So what ideas do you have for that?
Unfortunately, because of the room that I'm going to need, I'm going to have to do something with them cages either way. I'm going to have to, because I basically, as big as this barn is, you run out of real estate real fast when you start, adding in 20, 30 feet for one cage. But I need to keep my, the amount of animals that I want kind of down to a minimum until I get out of the state eventually. But the other half of it too is to make it to where I want to do some water features. Me and you were discussing, drains and trying to find a perfect solution for them because I'm sick of having them, with the lip here and then, the water can't get out of it. some of the concrete stuff, but I want to make it a little more where I'm making just bigger ledges that are out of, just frame with 2x4 and cement board, and then just using my concrete mix on them. And then utilizing, as much natural stuff as I can. I mean, I want to do a lot of the plants, incorporate it with the water features, but unfortunately with some monitors, and some of the just general lizards in general, I mean, that big cage when I had all the basilisks in there and the hydrosaur, I mean, the plants look great and they lasted, I think, like 2 months before they completely destroyed them. So I need to come up with a technique. I think, I don't know, Brad, or maybe it was you, Adeline, we were talking about plants in the trees and how, maybe it was even Cody too, but intersecting with ledges, big branches to keep them from, being able to walk through the, like through the plants and through the leaves without really trying to,
like giving them a highway through or beyond the plants so they don't use the plants. And that's what I see. What most people, the problem is, even with fake plants, is your placement. So as monitors, if you put a fake plant or a real plant in the corner hanging from the top to the bottom, well, that's just another highway for them. They're going to use that plant, and the next thing you know, you got a silk plant that has no leaves on it, just the bones, and that looks really ugly. So avoid the corners, and like you said, even walkways and ledges and branches that would get them through the trees without disturbing the trees. And you know what? When you look at other zoos that we're talking about, a lot of them do have planted things. And the problem is when you have animals like monitors, they like to dig at the base of plants. So there are ways to do it, and I believe if you have the room like you're talking about, Bryan, if you set it up, establish your plants, and let them get a good foothold for, a couple, 3 months, and then you add your animals, I think, in such a large space, they won't be able to wreck, each thing in like a couple days. So you might be able to maintain, a corn plant in one corner, a banana tree in another corner, and maybe even like you said with the walkways and stuff, give each plant a little time to recoup from their damage. But I believe in a large enough space, you'll be able to do that.
Well, I did notice a couple ideas from Brad. We might have talked about this too. Where I know people were putting like big rocks in the plant, around the edge there, just to discourage them until they start digging in a rock, and then like, all right, screw it. And then there's a lace monitor exhibit in New Zealand, and I noticed that some of their bigger palms, they just planted into the soil, and it seems to, I don't know, that they'll walk by it, but they're not trying to climb up it. So there's that aspect. But my biggest concern, which, you and Mike are going to have more experience with it, is just trying to come up with a good water system to just keep the flow going and keeping it, just clean. I mean, Brad, he's got that awesome, that guillotine on his PVC, and he just opens it up and dumps out all that water like that into his, your going to your sump pump.
Shoots right at the house.
I thought about just running PVC right out the barn door, or right out through the barn, right to the freaking grass, and that grass would probably grow better than any grass.
Bryan, I've often thought of this. If you did do something like that, and you made like, a lot of septic fields are like this, where they have like a straight pipe and then several keys that they make a field. So if you drained, it would hit the drain underground, and it would disperse over a larger area. And yeah, you'd probably have the best looking lawn in the neighborhood. And you wouldn't be paying for, Dr. Green Thumb or whatever those guys are called.
Yeah. No,
We've been
it's
using-
go ahead. I'm sorry.
FX6 canister filters. I don't know if you guys have used those before, but they are amazing in terms of power.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You
So
said
that's-
FX canister filters.
The Fluval FX6s are what we have. And so
I have
with
the Fluval.
our enclosures, we've got drains and we've got these little, we're basically working on making the water area with the drain into a waterfall, connecting it all to the FX6s and making it really easy to be able to dump out and then just to be able to circulate the water and filter it out. So,
And this is in the
Well-
3 monitor cages?
mhm.
Yeah, so I guess when people ask me about filtration, generally I'm talking to, people who have water monitors or the Indicus complex, something that is an actual water shitter that they shit in the water. And anybody who knows anything about water monitors, a big 6, 8, 10-pound water monitor that poops in their water daily. For me, that was a lot of filter work, and I just assumed drain, rinse, and fill with them. But on my 300 gallons with the Mertens, I have it set up with 2 Owasi Biotherm 850s. And now this was before I had any experience with Mertens. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. This will filter everything. Excuse my language, the motherfuckers, they barely shit in the water. They shit on the land. So I have all this crazy filtration on, which is great because my Mertens pond is basically like a fish tank. It's a biological filter, but I still got to clean up the land now because they don't poop as much in the water.
I mean, turtles. I mean,
Yeah, see, I somebody just asked me about that. Would you put turtles? I wouldn't because I know turtles too, and I think if a Mertens was just wallowing on his wallow shelf in the water, turtle might come up and nip his toe or
Tail
the
tip.
end of his tail. Even occasionally Mertens get a little crazy. They might just tear something's head off. So
I was saying more like, because I know we just picked up a bunch of turtles from her uncle. He has
Nature Center.
thank you. But
where
he
they take
had
in rescues.
5 big old turtles in a fish tank with what was it, an
Big
FX6.
fat sliders. Yeah.
That water was crystal clear. And
Nice.
turtles, all they do is dump in the water.
yep.
So I was like, if it's good enough for them, it should work for a monitor too.
Yeah, my monitor's like pooping under the heat lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
They drag all their roaches and their bugs into the water.
They
So
do.
the water just, after the first day of changing it, it's just stagnant, gross looking water.
right. So, hey, Chris, let me ask you something on them Fluval FX filters. Do those come with a pre-filter, or when the filter gets clogged, you got to break the whole thing down?
Well, they're full of what is that called? What is
The bio balls or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
there's charcoal in there.
a 5-gallon bucket, pretty much, that has like 4 or 5 stages inside of it, I think, and it has like
You can put what you want in there.
Oh, that bio rock,
You could do
whatever
the-
it's called, and then there are several layers of foam. So
Right.
we have 2 of them running an 80-gallon fish tank.
We rotate, so we'll clean one
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
one's running and then swap it.
Yeah, it's always good if you're able to rotate. So I always push Owasi filters because since I was a kid, keeping turtles and alligator snapping turtles and stuff, it's scary to have a cord in the water with a fish tank heater or the glass thing. I've actually lost many turtles to heater accidents. So when my wife told me that,
Right,
I'm like, yeah, I told her, I'm like, you know what? I wish somebody would come out with a filter that had a canister filter that had a heater in it, so there would be no heater in the water with your animals. She goes, they got that. I'm like, what do you mean they got that? She introduced me to Owasi, and in getting the Owasi, another great feature that Owasi has is there's a pre-filter. So you turn off your intake and your outtake, and you turn the pre-filter, and then you pull the sponges out, And I rinse those maybe once a month, or it depends on what species I'm dealing with. But it really cuts down the time that you have to break the whole filter down. So that pre-filter is a lifesaver for me.
I
I
think
wish
Yeah,
Andy-
Bryan
super
was
simple,
still
easy
on
to
there.
use too.
They have them, yeah.
Yeah.
They have them. We just haven't
I
tried
remember him talking about how good they are.
how nice the heater is in
Or
them.
someone
Yeah,
was talking
yeah. We've heard great things about them. We just haven't used them ourselves because we've had these forever.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryan, again, I don't know, Mike, have you ever been down to his basement in his
I have not yet, but I got to go.
You guys all got to go check it out because he has so many turtles down there and then the monitors and all. But he's like the king of filtration now because he's using live plants, he's using fish.
Yeah.
He's always got some new ideas, and he just implemented a couple that we were talking about a couple days ago. He's got like a setup now, Brad. I think you had something similar with your water monitor cage, but it's basically like his PVC tube coming out of that water. That valve's like wide open, and it just constantly is just being recirculated. But
It's like a trickle, like with a trickle, right?
yeah, but he's
Yeah.
got a big like colander with all these that mesh and all it. It collects all the solids. The water still gets bled through there. Then it's going through a filter and it's going back up to another bucket that he has more filtration media in, and it spills back into the cage and it's crystal clear. And it's just constantly in a rotation like that. But for like one bank of turtles he has, I think they're all like side necks. He had all the water being filtered through this big, like probably like a 50
sump?
gallon. No, it was, just a small aquarium pump, probably like a 50 or 60 gallon per hour or whatever pump. But inside of this big like pool, he had a whole bunch of guppies, probably, I don't know, 50 of them. And they had a couple plants, and they would just help keep everything clean.
Yeah.
And,
So last week we had Jody Hall on here, and she has an 8-foot black dragon, and she actually filters her water. And again, water monitors are water shitters, but in her filtration system, she has come up with I don't know, it's a multiple part filtration, but one part of the filtration is like an algae filter. So the water flows out from a mechanical filter, and then it runs through like where she has algae and stuff growing that really helps biologically break down the waste stuff. So, I mean, yes, if you get creative, you can make some really cool filtrations. But commercially, I try to tell people, commercially available filtration, it'll work. It'll be a lot of work to maintain it. But if you do your own, like you said, I mean, there's so much you can come up with. And especially if you're talking huge enclosures, huge water features. And like you say, I know people who have filters that are their own micro habitat or whatever you would call them.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's guppies in there, snails, all kinds of stuff like that really keeps the water up to par.
Didn't we see someone that had like a 55-gallon canister filter, or the company that made it? I can't remember who it was.
I think so.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much like a
Like a
math
pool.
FX6. It's just like 55 gallons. I can't remember where I saw it or who had it, but
It's crazy what's out there.
yeah.
That's
There's
the
Hey,
fun thing
good
about going to zoos. When you go to zoos, you see these
Yeah,
skimmers. and
they're like big
filters.
drums. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I know there's that whole new, like they in the fish world. There's I don't really know what they call it, but they take a 55-gallon drum or multiples, and then they have their bio balls or whatever that filter medium is, and it's constantly churning and blowing. That dude Joey, whatever his name is, the king of DUI. I seen that filter and I was like, wow, that's fantastic. So while it does trickle through filter medium and stuff, there's also one part of it that the bio balls are actually churning and moving, and it's so amazing to see that stuff. But hey, I got a question for you, Nanners. What is that right behind your shoulder there? What do you got over in that? I can't tell. Is that a fish tank or what is that? Oh, that's your counter.
No, that's markers, you blind son of a bitch.
You know what? Hey, man, I am blind. And you know what? Thank you for giving me my nanner's sarcasm. I can't live without it. Thank you, sir.
I can't be nice to you.
Of course not.
We talked about bringing the animals over, but it's so much easier care-wise when we're gone for them to all be in one spot at the house rather than over, split in two places.
Right. Are you guys still in that same spot in Marengo there by the gas station?
Yep. So we're finally in the studio
your studio looks, your studio is, it's beautiful. The light that comes in, the plants, very nice.
It's coming together, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Getting the toilets work done right now.
Yeah.
Brad, you're not far from Adeline, right? You're what, in Rockford?
North Aurora. So I'm about 40 minutes from you. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not far.
I don't know why I thought you were further.
This one, we're all close.
Yeah, Mike's
Right.
45 minutes too, so we're all within like an hour of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Got to represent the Midwest.
Absolutely. I think we do a good job. It's a good crew we got here. So, well, we're at just over an hour. And again, we can talk for hours, all of us, but the best thing that I've taken away from this show so far is what Addie had said. And we need to do a field trip. We need to do a zoo day or something. I think that would be great. And bananas. No sarcasm now. So Uncle Mike, I went out and bought one of them old lady scooters. So now I could go to the zoo and stuff. I don't have to worry about people pushing me off the cliff with the wheelchair,
Put flames on it and like little flags on the back.
Not yet. I'm still trying to customize it. I got to say, I do have the Italian pepper hanging from the handlebar. So I'm getting there.
So you
That's
retired
awesome.
the Merrills, huh?
Yeah. No, I love my Merrills. How about you, Nanners? I see you. You're not wearing the Merrills no more. What happened?
I moved on to Hokas.
Oh, nice. I think I have a New Balance, so I don't know. What am I going to do? Probably the last pair of shoes I'll ever own.
Hey,
I
real
am
quick,
hiking still.
Brad, you said you're in North Aurora. What's that zoo out there by you?
You know what? It's like it's not huge. I've never been there. I've heard of it. I almost went there with my nephews the other day. I'll have to look into it. I'll get back to you on that.
Hey,
What's the name of it?
I don't know. I forget.
Addie, we had discussed a few of the larger AZA type zoos. Do you ever experience like small little private zoos like like on House of 1,000 Corpses, the weird little gas station do you ever see stuff like that while you're traveling?
Like roadside zoos?
Yeah, like roadside. Yeah.
I haven't been to roadside zoos. I've gone past many of them, but I typically I haven't stopped at any yet. Usually in terms of smaller places that are really impressive, surprisingly nature centers. Because we go herping a lot, and sometimes where we'll go herping, there'll be like a state park nature center, and they'll have enclosures of native species displays. And I have to say, like, those have been pretty impressive so far. So yeah, I haven't. There's some smaller zoos that we've been to that were nice, but the nature centers were like surprisingly awesome. We went to Ohiopyle, Pennsylvania, and they've got a whole like exhibit or kind of a display on like hellbenders and all the natural amphibians there and all the natural turtles there. It's right on the river, and it was
Very
really
cool.
Different areas of habitat and a lot of sculptures and dioramas of the animals set up as well. But yeah, it can be kind of surprising how nice some of these smaller places can be.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I remember in the 70s when I was a kid, my grandma and grandpa used to take us every year to Florida. And, every truck tire that I seen blown up on the road, I was like, is it an alligator? Just kind of weird thinking. But one gas station we went to, they had, this was back in the day, so they had alligators and you could buy baby alligators. And like for $5, which was a lot of money in the 70s, for $5, you can go in the back behind the gas station and see the pit full of baby rattlers. So I'm like, Grandma, I'm like, Granny, Grandpa, man, let me buy that. I want to go see the baby rattlers. They're like, they're tight. So they gave up the $5, and I run behind a gas station. I jump up on this little stool, and I'm looking down in a concrete vat. And I look down in there. You know what they did? They put actual baby, like, rattlers. There was hundreds of them in there. And I'm like, I don't get it. And then my grandpa comes and he goes, I told you not to spend that $5. I couldn't. So, yeah, that was pretty funny back in the day.
They still have the roadside alligators, but you can't buy them. And usually it's like a few hatchlings in a 180-gallon tank with like a bunch of taxidermied heads.
Right. So they're getting you in with that. Yeah.
And this is down south, I would take it.
Yeah, right as you get into Florida, you'll see all the citrus advertisements. See the baby alligators. And yeah, we were like, screw it. Let's stop and actually see what it is. And it's literally a 180 with a few hatchlings in there and nothing to write home about.
Don't fall for the baby rattler pit thing.
No baby rattler pits.
Who said baby?
That's quite a scam.
Baby.
Oh, what's up? Look at that cute little guy.
What size enclosure? What size enclosure Waterloo is suitable for this guy here?
8 by 8 minimum.
Hey, great show, guys. Hey, Uncle Mike, I can close you guys out whenever you guys are done, just so you know. But I just want to say great show. I've been listening the whole time.
Okay, well, we appreciate that, and thanks for letting me get on this and share whatever I can with the people. I appreciate that. Nobody else offered for me to join on their network, so I'm glad you did, and we're going to continue on here. But thanks again, Mike. See you later, Leo. And with that being said, guys, I want to really thank you guys for not only coming on this podcast, but I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for all that you do in the community, all you do for me mentally in being friends with you guys. I really think it's awesome that, for a long time I used to think, wow, New York, man, they got New Jersey and Pennsylvania, they got all those people over there. And, California has Arizona and all those people over there. Well, now in the Midwest, Chicagoland area, I think we got a great team, and people should really be encouraged by what you're doing, Bryan and Adeline. Your work is, absolutely. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I really, truly believe there's not a better reptile artist in the game than you. And your work speaks for itself. And I got to get some stuff. As a matter of fact, I will talk later. And Brad, continue doing what you're doing. And then Waterloo, man, you're like the craziest dude I know. A guy who builds these beautiful enclosures, and and then he wants to break them. He wants to tear them down. I mean, most people would enjoy that stuff for a lifetime. But I get it, man. You're hungry. You're hungry, and you want to advance, and I get that. You can't do that with something giant in your way. You can't build something bigger while this big thing is in your way. And I get it. I respect that. I respect all you guys. From me and Jin and Bryan Waterloo and Bryan Daraka, Adeline, and Brad's Bioactive Builds here. Thank you guys for all watching. I don't know who was all in there. At the beginning of the show, MJ, you said if I get the intro right, that you were going to send a super chat. I'm low tech. I can't see the super chat, but I do expect it to be there, Mike. I think I did good. So appreciate you. Did you just cut me off?
Yeah.
Oh, man. There we are. So, again, my partner, Jin, wasn't able to make today's show. I'm sure you guys all heard and seen of her. Real nice, my partner. But, again, thank you all for joining me on this Babel Fest. And, again, we could have done this for hours. We're limited to so much time. So, Mike Stefani, Mike's Monitors, All Monitor Talk podcast. Again, thank you guys all very much. And we need to hook up and get on that the day trip or the zoo trip, whatever you want to call it. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, much love and respect to you all.